So my name is Matt Booker, and welcome to Rhodes Scholar's virtual lecture series. It's my pleasure to host today's virtual field trip. So these lectures are free and available to Rhodes Scholar participants and for anyone who loves to learn. This series of online lectures and field trips is critical to helping us pursue our not-for-profit mission of making learning accessible to as many people as we can. This includes those who do not have the physical ability or financial means to travel, or leave their homes to join us on a program. Ultimately, this series would not be possible without the support of participants like you who have funded this project through generous donations. So please consider making a donation to Not-for-Profit Rhodes Scholar so that we can continue to provide educational experiences both in the virtual classroom and beyond. So please visit rhodesscholar.org/give to show your support with a monetary donation. Every dollar helps. So while Rhodes Scholar is headquartered in Boston, we have offices and staff around the world. And today, you will be hearing from Veronica Luka. Veronica was born in Mexico City, and she adopted Ensenada as her home in 1994 when she settled there to study oceanography at the State University. Her passion to protect the environment inspired her to continue in the development of remote villages in Baja California, organizing cultural and environmental events, as well as participating in summer programs with indigenous communities. Veronica is also a featured expert on our Rhodes Scholar program 12315, The Great Gray Whale Migration and Baja's Natural Wonders. So before we begin, a few quick notes. Veronica will present for approximately 30 minutes, after which we will host a 10 to 15 minute question and answer session. Now, during the session, you can submit questions using the question and answer icon located at the bottom of your screen. Then afterwards, I'll read a few questions for Veronica to respond. Now, should technical issues force you to miss any portion of this webinar, don't worry. We'll be adding a recording of the field trip to our online virtual lecture library. And finally, at the end of the Q&A, you'll be prompted to take a very short survey. And just like on a Rhodes Scholar program, we ask that you take a few moments to fill it out. It will help us grow and improve our virtual lecture series. So let's have a warm virtual welcome for Veronica.
Thank you very much, Matt. So glad to be here with you today. Welcome, and I'm glad you could make it. It's actually a long way to get here. I'm going to show you and remind you how far we are going today on our Baja California Peninsula virtual trip. So today, right now, at this moment, we are very happy to be ready to have our good shoes and our hats on so we can start taking a nice walk in Loreto. So thanks for coming here. We all were able to fly into Loreto. So just as a reminder, some information before we go out on the field where we are located in the world right now. So here in the first map, you can see this long peninsula. This is the second longest peninsula in the world. And today we will be able, thanks to having a virtual field trip, to cover a total of 261 miles, coming all the way from Loreto, which you can see in this first blue map right here where I'm pointing out. And this is because Loreto is one of the 5 different international airports that the peninsula has. So we could make it like 2/3 of the peninsula south. And what you can see in these numbers is showing you that there are different routes in the peninsula, but actually the one that stands out is the main highway one. So if we would be thinking of traveling from north to south, Tijuana is the border, and we are right here, and then continues like going on the side of the Pacific Ocean, almost all the way here, and then goes inland, which would be enjoying the central desert of Baja. And after that, it will start coming south, arriving to the 2 lagoons that we are visiting during this field trip. And that would be Baja Sur, the southern state. And then it changes Highway 1 coming to enjoying this gorgeous, beautiful part of the peninsula, which is in the Gulf of California side. And that's what we are doing during this field trip, all right? So we are here in Loreto. In other words, in the second map, we can see Loreto standing out right here. And that is because from Loreto all the way to Tijuana is what the Spaniards were making back in the 15 and 1600s, where they were establishing missions every certain distance, starting from central Mexico, and then moved, getting very brave spirits to get across the Gulf of California and starting to be able to establish missions to these unexplored and very remote areas. So this Loreto to
Veronica,
Tijuana. Yes?
1 second. Your audio is breaking up a little bit. We can still hear you, but there's a buzz. Can you try to plug in your headphones?
Yeah, actually, I am wearing them.
Okay, try to unplug them.
Oh, unplug them. Is this better?
Yes.
Okay, perfect. So these very brave missionaries and sailors were coming from Loreto and going all the way and kept on going north to establish what we know as Baja California Camino Real or Royal Road. This is where they were exchanging all their goodies and expanding the word of Catholicism into the Native Americans. The third map, this beautiful image of our peninsula, is just to show you that this is the distance that the missionaries were doing by boat. They came from mainland Mexico and made it all the way to Loreto, and this is where we are starting today. So everybody's ready? I hope so. So usually we would do such a trip in 4 days in real life, but today we have planned the first day, so which are the first few minutes, to be knowing Loreto, what we are doing today, and then just a drive of about an hour to the San Javier, which is in the mountain range of La Giganta, which means giant, 1 and 2. Tomorrow, we are going into traveling north in the Gulf of California still, but this time we are enjoying beautiful, pristine beaches. This is something that me and many other people believe it's one of the most beautiful parts in the whole peninsula, in amazing wildlife and views. Continuing north, we will arrive to an oasis where there was another mission established, Mulege, the third mission established in Baja, and finally arriving to what is a surprise for many, that there is a former French mining town in this part of the peninsula. And finally, for our last 2 days, we will continue on Highway 1 to keep on driving, now arriving to the Pacific Ocean, where 2 lagoons are located in this Vizcaíno Biosphere Reserve, which is the largest biosphere reserve in Latin America. And it goes all the way from the Gulf to the Pacific Ocean. So we can enjoy a visit to the magnificent gray whales, which happen to use these 2 lagoons, plus a third lagoon we are not visiting during this field trip, for their mating and nursing grounds. So that would be number 6, San Ignacio, and number 7, Ojo de Liebre. How does the plan sound? I hope good and exciting. So today we are in Loreto. One more image just to remind you that here in Loreto, we are just in the Gulf of California and the coastline. We just arrived here to this international airport, and the city is located, which is a small town, is located just in front of 5 different islands. From our boardwalk, we will be able to see these 2, part of Coronado Island and Del Carmen Island, which is kind of giving us the idea that, wait a minute, is that the land? Is that mainland? But it's not, it's still very, very far. So we will only be seeing part of the islands. And if we are in the ocean, this is Loreto, all of a sudden, beautiful, beautiful beach. So we will get on a boat and see inland, which is the peninsula, and that would be La Giganta. Giganta in female. It's a giant that is our blessed mountain range. That means that's the meaning of Sierra, all the way up to 4,900 feet high in altitude. And the second stop will be going all the way up on this windy road that will take us to something really majestic that is our second stop, the second mission that was established by the missionaries. A beautiful, beautiful view. Now we are still in Loreto. Loreto is the first Spanish settlement, and that was because it was easy for the missionaries to actually, well, easier than going further north to arrive into this part, and they found that because of the closeness to the mountain range, it was not that difficult to find water. And that is the total and continuous story of all the missionaries that came to Baja California, because they were looking obviously for food just like any other living being, and especially mammals on Earth. So we can take a short walk on the boardwalk and enjoy the view of the islands, the distance, and the mountain range on the west side. When we are expecting from our hotel this view, it would be not actually a nice sunset, but this is a sunrise. Remember that we are here in the Gulf, and from our hotel after the boardwalk, we can enjoy this beautiful sunrise tomorrow morning when we continue our field trip. And at the distance, this is part of all of these islands that we can see. So, and just enjoying what we are doing today is a lot of beauty. That is what we are doing on our field trip. So open our eyes and open our senses. Now, let's walk this less than 3 blocks away from the boardwalk, and right there we can find this beautiful building. This is considered the mother of the missions. Of course, the names are all in Spanish because of these Spanish Jesuit missionaries that came and named them on the Catholic tradition, Nuestra Señora de Loreto Concho. But we just call it Loreto. It was founded in 1697, the first one, the first settlement in all the peninsula, which is actually, we are so used to knowing from north to south, but in this case, the whole history of development of human settlements comes from the south, Loreto, the first one, all the way to the north, and they kept going all the way to Sonoma County, right? So that was the whole missions that were established. The time of the missionaries started in the late 1680s and kept on going until 1830. So this is a couple of very beautiful views that you can enjoy, sunset and daylight of the still La Sierra de la Giganta at the very end. This building is not the original building, only some part was still safe, and that is because the hurricanes hit. This is just almost close to the Tropic of Cancer, and this is where we can still get some very strong hurricanes and storms. So part of this, after a very heavy hurricane, was destroyed, and that's why Loreto is not the capital of the state. Now, this building is the entrance to our Mission Museum, which is there to show us very interesting things like these boats that were originally used by the natives, made out of wood, and they were getting some goodies and stuff across the Gulf. And it was how the missionaries brought everything they needed, from animals, cattle, to all of the tools into the Baja California Peninsula. It's a magic town, Pueblo Mágico. Now, we are going to come back to Loreto after our second stop for enjoying some more of the downtown. But for now, let's get on the vans and do all of this 22-mile road that it will take us almost an hour because it's really windy. We are just going up and up until we reach 2,000 feet above sea level. From Loreto, we are going into the mountain range of La Giganta to find the second mission that was established. This is San Francisco Javier Vigué Biaundo. And this is because of the missionary Jesuits that established all of these missions. They came from all over Europe, not only Spain, and they were really high spirit, very strong, very determined. And of course, they were also looking for building something very austere and sober. So this is the jewel of all missions, and this is because of the setting. Look at this mountain range, and it's amazing for me to think of that work they were doing without knowing the language, where to find the water and all of that. So having the buildings still standing is really something that lets us travel back in time. Founded in 1699, just 2 years after they arrived to Loreto, and they didn't start the building with these volcanic origin rocks until 1744. They were having a lot of conflicts with the missionaries. This is just like the very general story, with the language, with the very strong beliefs. And just a little map here to show you how everything started here in Loreto, coming to San Javier, and the missions in the Royal Road kept on going all the way north. So we can still find original canvases inside the missions. I'm going to show you a couple of more when we come back to Loreto. And then we will see that they were very austere, very sober. They were just looking for a big building, but not really a lot of decoration. All of the materials inside, from the doors to the benches, came across the Gulf of California. Okay. So that was Loreto, and I'm going to let you enjoy the rest of the afternoon in Loreto with just walking the mission, going inside the museum and learning a little bit more of that hard life that the missionaries had in these places. Let me show you where the water comes from. I'm going to show you first the beach and then something that is about finding oases. So here we are. We left behind Loreto and San Javier, and we are now driving for about a couple of hours until we reach this area here that is number 3, and we know it as Concepción Bay. After that, we spend a few minutes enjoying the beach until we reach the first oasis, Mulege, and later on to the French community, originally mining town and community. So here we are. This was the mountain range, Loreto, San Javier in the middle of the La Giganta mountain range. And now we are driving on Highway 1. Baja Concepción is this kind of arm shape that makes all of this body of water within it's a bay. It's not a regular shape, but like a horseshoe, but this is our Baja Concepción. Just a little bit closer, you can see that Highway 1 is all the way in the very, very, very end. So the views are breathtaking. Are you ready? So here we are. This is what we can see from the road. Anyway, if you are sitting on the side of the window or not, just enjoy the colors. It's amazing for a lot of people that we have actually Caribbean-like colors. This is not many people living there, but actually they do. And all of the mountain ranges you can see at a distance, they're islands. So another thing that we have in the Gulf of California is this both beautiful landscape and also these places that most of them would not have fresh water, but they are actually living by the largest communities of birds. So it was named by Philip Cousteau, the aquarium of the world, and it is still used like that to promote its conservation, to promote activities that have to do with enjoying nature, ecotourism, eco visits, and something that is just leaving this place behind. The first time I traveled here was 25 years ago, and believe me, nothing has changed in most of them. There is one or two small bays within Baja Concepción that would have mostly Americans and Canadians that would be so tempted in coming and enjoying their winters in this gorgeous place. We cannot blame them. And they have set their RVs or even a small house, and they are spending, especially the winters. The summer gets very, very hot. And at the distance, if we are very lucky, or when you are kayaking or sailing or snorkeling, there might be a chance to spot at least 3 different species of whales that enjoy also this aquarium of the world. So let's make a stop here. In this beach, we are stopping one that is most accessible for us to get to, and just let's spend some time here enjoying deep, fresh air, the breads. Look at the boats that some of the local fishermen would be offering for taking you on a ride, or just stay on the beach and maybe you can spot some of the pelicans and seagulls, cormorants that would be attracted to come and take a look at you also. They are curious also about humans, and especially what we can bring them if we would have some food with us. So let's just enjoy the view of one of the most beautiful places in the peninsula, Concepción Bay. And it was very short. So after that walk, and maybe even seeing some of the mangroves that are also located around there, let's get on the vehicle again so we can drive to the oasis of Mulege. When we are driving, we will be looking from a bridge, because since it's an oasis, some people call it the river. It was originally something that was established by the government. It was built as a dam back in the 1940s, and little by little, you can actually see from this one that I'm pointing out, the one on your right, down, it would be all of this impressive view of palm trees, but also here part of the dam, that it's water coming all the way from the mountain ranges. So most of the water, all of the water in Baja California comes from the aquifer. And since the people who were living here back in the early 1700s were still nomadic groups, the Jesuit first missionaries were surprised to find no cities, nothing like the Aztecs or Mayas or Toltecs or all of the other ones they had already seen majestically, and they were doing math and astronomy. None of that was going on in Baja California. So they received the water from the mountain ranges all along Baja, and the people were nomadic, looking for things to eat in the coastline, and then depending on the weather, spending time in inland and looking for fresh water. So look at this. Where did all these palm trees come from? Well, there are two species that one of them is endemic, at least two are endemic in Baja California, and date palm trees were introduced by the missionaries, and because of the water, they have multiplied just like this. Now, you can see the name here of the entrance, Heroica. It's an heroic site because it actually was during the Mexican-American War, where a lot of the Northern Territory was lost, back in 1847, the residents were repelling the Americans by their Navy advance, and they won. So believe it or not, there is this battle that was won by Baja Californian local residents in the Mexican-American War, and that's why they need to say it. Heroica Mulege, big sign. And also another curious thing about this place, let's go into the town, which is something of about 3,800 people living there out of fishing, tourism, and date production. But it's also, again, Americans and Canadians locally living there for a few months in a year. There is one place that now is a museum that is the only jail that we know in Mexico of the doorless prison. This was a jail without doors. The inmates here back in 1907 were kept there because of they stole something or they did something wrong, but they were not, the government was not able to feed them, so they could go out and work, and they would be working for somebody in the community, for fishing, or even date collection or something else, and they would just had to come back at 6 p.m., everybody of them. If the inmates were supporting each other, because if one of them missed the queue, not the curfew time, they would be losing some of their benefits. So they could even attend some of the festivities, local parties, but they could just not drink. Well, it's a museum, and it's one of the places to visit if we are here in Mulege. Okay, so now after enjoying this view, let's go back to the mission. This is the third mission back in 1705, and it is, again, very austere. Many of them would have the same constant architecture. And in the inside, this one I got photos of, it's like this. It is a volcanic rock origin building. The doors came from mainland Mexico on a boat. Just a couple of images of the saints and the canvases they could.
Veronica, your sound is gone. Veronica, can you hear me? Your sound is gone? No. Try it again. Can't hear you.
See?
Yep.
Yeah, there I am. Okay, thank you. So last view, just to enjoy, not much more to say. The mountain range at the distance. River, which I have to say, even though it's so pretty and so beautiful, it's still very hard to live here when it's rainy season, storm and hurricanes. Let's go up now to Santa Rosalia. This is the last view, our next stop for seeing the Gulf of California. Santa Rosalia, stop 5. This is a view of the old mining town. Back in 1885, it was established as a concession the Mexican government gave to a French company. They were getting copper, zinc, and cobalt from the concession, and this is what you still, these are very recent photos. This is where you can actually see most of the town is still either one of the buildings is a museum now or a government office, but it is very, very pretty. So let's take a walk and just to show you what it looked like back in 1905. There's nothing there, meaning of materials able to be able to work on building anything there. So a lot of the buildings were pre or were assembled. They were already made and they had to be assembled here. And we have this church that it is, the story tells that Gustav Eiffel himself designed it, and it was brought by boat, be assembled here on the site. This is what it looks like today. This is the inside. You can see that the architecture is similar to the Eiffel Tower. So this is what you can see, and it is a local church. It's used for mass on a daily basis. Something very important to do when you are coming to Santa Rosalia is to come to the most famous bakery in Baja California, I would say, and that is El Boleo. Since 1901, they have different kinds of dulce, pan dulce, are sweet rolls, and this is pitaya, a local kind of bread that is named after one of the famous and widely distributed cacti. So enjoy your sweet roll. And from here, let's get ready to drive into the land and leaving the Gulf of California behind, so we can actually go to the next 2 stops and last ones in the Pacific Ocean. So we are getting a little bit colder. It always changes to get across the mountain range and into the Pacific again. On our way, we are going to go from Santa Rosalia. We were here. We are going inside first San Ignacio. In between, I'm going to show you just one quick thing that I want you to take a photo of, and then we will finish in our last stop, Guerrero Negro. So the day is coming. Tomorrow is our day where we are visiting the gray whales, if that's the reason why you took this field trip with us, or one of the main ones. Tomorrow, we are ready. On our way, just a little bit south of San Ignacio, which is now between Santa Rosalia and San Ignacio, we are looking at great view of this Three Virgins volcano. It's named like that after the shape. Locals report to have like 3 smaller hills, and that each one of them has the shape of a virgin. Of course, all of this is very clearly reflecting the teachings on the Catholic tradition by the missionaries. So let's just do this quick stop to enjoy the volcano, one of the two volcanoes that are still active. They are dormant, but they are not totally gone. They are actually active, and we have a geothermal plant there that provides electricity for the important cities around there or towns. Okay, we're ready to go into San Ignacio, and we can see now here on the road another oasis, and at the distance now we see all of this canyon, and we start seeing all the palm trees, date palm trees, and how the town starts flourishing. It's been within the Biosphere Vizcaíno Reserve since 1988. And this is one part of the entrance. Again, sometimes we expect Baja not to have that much water, and I'm showing you all of these beautiful places with an oasis. This is, some people call it the dam, other people call it the river. It definitely was an arroyo that was flowing from the mountains, just like Mulege, and it was created artificially a dam, and now it is a place for conservation. You can find birds, some toads, the bullfrog, and also a lot of birds. So enjoy the view before we actually get into the town. And this is San Ignacio Caracaman Mission. It's still standing, totally original. The shapes of the doors again, this is inside some canvases of the 18th century again. And it's a beautiful, beautiful view within the canyon, and also with all these date palm trees around, showing you how these settlements were established. And from here, we need to have drive into the San Ignacio Lagoon. But before that, let me tell you that if you have time, you can visit this small museum next to the mission, in which they are making a very nice representation of the cave paintings that are some of the most important cave paintings in the world. It's like the third very well preserved site in the world, San Francisco Sierra. So let's see if we have time for that later on. This is the town, what it looked like in the past, and this is what it looks like in the present. There is this little museum gallery of a lady, which she's an American, Juanita, she's known. And if you come back after whale watching and you want something to do in this quiet town, that could be something to show you photos and a movie that was filmed here in San Ignacio, so you can get some of the culture of the people living 100 years ago around here. But now let's do the drive. The drive to the lagoon. We are entering something that is internationally known as the World Heritage Site for the birds and the landscape and the gray whale. So this is something that you can see, salt happening naturally, all the cacti, and finally the lagoon. When we get there, we are going to be in this campsite, which is now, but I'm just getting you ready to do this, to get ready to go whale watching. Meanwhile, we can see a lot of ospreys that are all over the place. Look at them. This is our National Geographic moment with the birds, very wild. Sometimes here, this is the Pacific, but in the lagoon, the change of tides is very high. So sometimes we get our feet wet, and sometimes we have a chance to just go into the boat. So after talking with our local guides, how to do the best on this whale watching activity. Our captain is ready. They are very experts. They've been doing, a lot of them, this for more than 15 or 20 years. So we are in totally good hands. Let's go and try to find the whales. And once we arrive to what we call the observation area, here we are. And this is what we can see. Whales at the distance. Look, open your eyes and spot some of the blows that we can see. There they are. Sometimes they do this behavior, which is breaching. This is kind of a baby whale. This is the calf that is doing that maybe for fun, maybe imitating its mother, and maybe just trying to show he's very ready to go back to the Arctic for the first time. So if we open our eyes, sometimes the water is very calm. Here is one of our captains just enjoying looking and seeing where the whales are going to come out to the surface. Sometimes they give us a show and open their mouth. Look at these balloons of this calf that is still growing its balloons. Look at the excitement of us on the boat trying to attract the whales that sometimes they get curious, trying to come close to us, not always doing the same things, but we always expect them to maybe hear us and maybe be curious about us and come and see us. So that was exciting. Sorry about that. We are going to come back. We have only one more stop to go. But in this moment, this is 90 minutes that we are allowed. Being a biosphere reserve, we are very well managing the time. It doesn't matter if you come from Japan or Russia or France or how much driving you did, national, international visitors, we all have 90 minutes within the observation area and a certain number of boats. So it is our job to protect that the whales are not feeling crowded or harassed, and by coming close to our boats, we believe that the whales are totally comfortable in our visiting. But it's gone, 90 minutes gone. Thanks for enjoying the view of the whales and their beautiful bodies, looking at details, barnacles and all. And now we are back into town just to show you the main plaza. And one of the places like this restaurant over here, there are only like 5 restaurants in the whole town, and all of them are very good in offering you basically Mexican and seafood, very fresh from the lagoon. So enjoy. And let's get ready for tomorrow, our last day. The largest lagoon where the gray whales come to, Ojo de Liebre, and that would be in this map. Just to remind you, we were here in this beautifully shaped San Ignacio Lagoon and the town next to the road. And now we are driving for 2 hours to reach the very northern end of the Baja California Sur state to Ojo de Liebre. And here we are. Ta-da! We got all ready, we got all set. Life jackets are mandatory. We are on this boat, similar boats on both lagoons, maximum 12. There, I think there's 1 or 2 that can hold 14 people. So we need to get very ready. So this is the winter, so it could be either colder or sunnier. We never know. Sometimes the water is more active than others. And off we go. Our captains, very ready, very positive. They know what they're doing. We are in good hands. So let's see what we can see. So there we go, very fast on the first minutes to reach the observation area within this very much larger, almost twice the size of San Ignacio. And on our way, it's not only whales, but actually we can see, being a biosphere reserve, some of the most number of bird species, marine species of birds that we can see, and maybe even dolphins. So open your eyes and enjoy. Let's reach the observation area. Sorry, but before that, a difference with San Ignacio is that we have here the largest salt production of the world. So actually we see these barges that are active, even though it's a large lagoon. We do see that, and of course the birds. So it is kind of an industrial activity going on in this lagoon, but even so, the whales are there. And actually, this is the place with the most whales at a time that has been recorded. So apparently all of these barges with the salt going outside of the lagoon into a larger island to then distribute it to the world does not make so much of noise, or they are okay with that activity, because there they are. And again, we have more of the whales showing balloons, showing their bodies. Sometimes there's 4 or 6 of them around the boats. It can make you even get a little bit nervous, but they are the gentlest of the marine mammals. They are really knowing how to approach our boat. And there we are, looking at the calf, imitating the large, majestic mom. They're upside down sometimes, showing the belly, showing the fins, and we are there just enough for our 90 minutes. And after that 90 minutes are over, we start going back to the shore, where we just don't stop seeing any of this beauty. And also following the cycle of life. This is the carcass of a dead whale in the sand, in the sand dunes, which is naturally happening. So we see the whole bird just recently born until the end of the cycle. And finally, I want to thank you for visiting with me today, the field trip of this Baja California Sur, the southern state, with this look of one of the beautiful gray whales that are choosing to come here today too. Thank you very much.
Veronica, thank you so much. 4 days and 30 minutes, or a little bit over. That's pretty good. So just a reminder, you can submit your questions using the question and answer icon on the bottom of your screen, but we already have several questions. So the first question that we have is about the missions. You listed a lot of missions. Do the missions have any active congregations?
Well, we still call them missions, and I've been sometimes talking about this with my colleagues, but they are actually not working as missions anymore. They just, after many things that happened in different, some of them were abandoned just because not the enough people to keep on doing the agriculture and maintaining them. There was no sense to stay there. Some others had conflicts. Then we had the Mexican Revolution, and then the government, when Mexico became Mexico, not New Spain anymore, they decided to get, the church could not own land anymore or buildings. So then they just became the churches in the Catholic tradition for the town. So that's what makes them active today in the places where there is still a town. Some of them are just in the middle of the desert and you can visit, but nobody really goes there.
And to follow up, we have a question from William who says he's curious about the construction of the missions. Were the priests trained in architecture and construction, or did they bring along skilled craftsmen? And did they recruit locals to work as laborers?
Yeah, actually, very interesting. Well, the Jesuits until today, they are scholars. One of the main focus for Jesuits is education, and it has been. So they were very well educated in many things. And they had already the experience of working for 150 years, establishing missions in central New Spain, which later became Mexico. So by the time they came to Baja, they already had tools. They brought everything with us across the Gulf of California. And they, yeah, we can say maybe recruited the Indians. It was a challenge, but they had very strong spirits to learn, to teach them, and they were attracted to stay there because of the offering of food by starting learning agriculture. And in exchange, they were forced to learn Spanish and the Catholic tradition.
Okay, thank you. So a bigger question, and I know I can relate to this, but Susan asks, perhaps I should already know this, but why is it called Baja California when it's in Mexico? Oh. Can you hear me, Veronica? Try it again. Unmute yourself. Can you hear me? Why is it called Baja California when it's in Mexico?
There you go.
Okay.
Could you repeat?
Yep. Yes. Why is it called Baja California when it's in Mexico?
All right. When the first explorers by boat back in the early 1500s, or some of them early 1600s, were finding it, they thought it was an island. And that it's a long story, but at that time there was this novel, romance novels that were very popular in Spain, and one of them was talking about an island called California. Nobody knows for sure exactly how it worked, that some of sailors or somebody started saying, maybe this is the island, California, and it is actually one of the longest cartographic mistakes when mapping in those years of the exploration of America, and they depicted it as an island for almost 200 years until they kept going north and finally found that it was a peninsula. When they kept establishing missions all the way, they decided it was too long to just call it California. And naturally, at the northern end of the peninsula, they decided to call it Baja California. And then when they continue establishing missions all the way up, Alta California. Alta is high or upper, and Baja is lower California. But that was what the Spaniards named it in New Spain times. Division of Mexico and United States after the Mexican-American War established that Baja California kept the whole name, and in California, United States decided to get the word Alta out of it.
Okay. What are the primary indigenous communities that live in the area?
Well, in southern Baja, they are practically gone. Some people in very small fishing communities would still say we are from the Cochimi Indian groups, but it's practically gone. It's in the northern states, state, Baja California, all the way up almost to the border, that we still have Kumiai, Pai Pai, Kiliwa, and Kukapa.
Okay, I definitely know how to spell all of those community names. Okay, so talking about the whales, so we have a lot of questions now about the whales. So Lisa asks, is she pretty much guaranteed to see whales on those whale watching biosphere preserves?
Definitely.
Really?
Definitely. Oh, yes. We still are calling it whale watching. I was very tempted not to include a lot of the images that are with a lot of people being so close. I was trying to show you that they are there in the water, right? Sometimes they get close to you. So some people are expecting to have them very close to pet them or to even scratch them. So we are not talking about whale scratching, whale touching, whale petting, whale kissing, none of that. It's still whale watching, and it's guaranteed. They start arriving in December. Of course, this is totally natural. We never know exactly the day and how many of them will arrive in the earliest of the season, and they will be all the way into April. It's changing. There's constant research being done. I think it's one of the most studied places on whales in the world. There's international and national researchers from universities trying to find the dates and the numbers. But early in the season, December, late December, and late in the season, early April, mid-April, you might find the least numbers, but anywhere in between January 15 and March 30th, it's totally guaranteed.
Is the water warm enough to swim?
Well, depends where you are used to live. For me, it's too cold. It's too cold. Some people go in. You cannot go in the observation area, but you could in other parts of the lagoon. But I guess those who do that usually wear a wetsuit. So okay. Depends if you're from Alaska or somewhere like that.
And has COVID impacted the area at all in terms of, you know, we see a lot of stories about how national parks have been affected either with more people coming or more wildlife. Do you have any knowledge of that?
You know, I don't really know like numbers in these small communities, but definitely since March, the border Mexico-U.S. in the north was closed. So the number of people coming just kind of stopped since March. There are a few. Still, it's not that much visited area. We never really reach crowds. And so I'm not totally sure, but my guess is that it's not impacted a lot because it's very, very small and they don't move a lot.
Okay. A few more questions. So we have Joyce who asks, is the fishing ban still in effect for taking, I think this is a fish, vaquitas, and she's a member of the Arizona Sonora Desert Museum, and they have staff involved to work to preserve that species. So could you clarify the pronunciation of the species and what it is?
Vaquita.
Vaquita, okay.
Vaquita. Yeah, it is a porpoise. It is the smallest marine mammal that exists, and it is totally endangered. They've been struggling for years, and yes, there is a ban on fishing. The thing is that the fish that they get is called totoaba, and it's a very, very large fish, which is in demand in the Asian market. So that's the struggle. And vaquitas being so small, they get very nervous and they die kind of easily. So they are still struggling, but yes, there is a ban, and they are hoping that they would not be extinct, but it's definitely in strong danger.
Okay, and the last question we have is about the French mining that you referred to earlier on. Can you give us a little bit more information about that community? or that site and why there's French mining in Baja California?
Yeah, well, that is one of the examples, but there are many others of being so remote. The Jesuits did all of these efforts, but at one point after the revolution and after the creation of Mexico as a republic, many were abandoned and so on. So the government has always, for 200 years, almost been trying to say, how can we not lose more territory after the Mexican-American War? How can we establish communities there, being so remote and being so harsh and all. And one of the things was with mining concessions. So they found that the Peninsula had, by accident, there was these French explorers. They were already with the gold rush up in San Francisco, and they were coming south, saying, what is in that peninsula? They were exploring, and they found this like a round rock that had a lot of copper in it, and that is actually the name of this mining town. So in that time, in the late 1880s, the Mexican government was given mining concessions, not only in Baja, but in many different places, and that was a way of attracting people. And there was a French concession to these explorers of trying to find minerals, and they got it for 100 years. So they brought wives and community with them, buildings, the tools, the everything. There was nothing there, and they could find water from the aquifer. But in 1954, they moved after the Mexican Revolution and many other situations. They just moved. Mexican company was established until the 100 years were totally gone, which happened in 1985. For 20 years, nothing happened. And currently in that location, Santa Rosalia, there is still, or happening again, the copper mining since 2008, but this time is a Korean concession. The community is not French anymore. There you can find many names, not only French, but actually German, last names, French, Italian, British, in all Baja California, which is not that common in other parts of mainland Mexico. But Baja California was established by a lot of foreigners, even Chinese, and it has a very unique, complex story.
Okay. Well, thank you so much. Unfortunately, that's all the time we have for today. Thank you to the nearly 700 or 800 of you that tuned in today. So Veronica, thank you for your passion. And again, 4 days and 30 minutes. Terrific. You know your stuff. So thanks to everyone out there. And again, if you've enjoyed this lecture, please consider making a donation to Not-for-Profit Rhodes Scholar. Every dollar helps. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much.